The night was meant to be unforgettable inside the grand ballroom of Asheville's Grove Park Inn. Golden light warmed the space, glinting off white flowers and delicate details Caroline had arranged herself. She wanted everything perfect for her birthday, and for a while it was. The room hummed with laughter, clinking champagne glasses, and cheerful voices. Guests raised toasts to a couple who seemed flawless, almost like they'd been cut from the glossy pages of a magazine. Bradley, all charm and easy smiles, moved through the crowd with practiced grace. Caroline, radiant in a deep wine-red gown, accepted compliment after compliment with a gracious nod. No one could have guessed how the night would twist. Without warning, Bradley strode toward the small stage where the musicians played. His steps were firm, his expression sharp. He took the microphone, tapped it twice, and the room quieted. Caroline looked up at him with a calm smile, unaware of the storm about to break. "Good evening," Bradley began, his voice steady, carrying across the ballroom. "Thank you for being here on such a special night." His eyes locked on Caroline's, no affection in them now. "I have an announcement. Some of you may have heard whispers, but tonight I won't hide anymore. It's time for the truth." Caroline's smile faltered, confusion tugging at her features. A chill crawled down her spine. "I've decided to leave, Caroline," Bradley continued, his tone ice. "It wasn't easy, but my heart belongs to someone else, someone many of you already know. Savannah, my wife's niece." Gasps rippled through the room. Some guests froze, others looked away in disbelief. "And there's more," Bradley pressed on. "Savannah is carrying my child. I won't live a lie any longer." Every head turned toward Savannah, who stood stiffly, her eyes lowered, cheeks burning under the weight of stares. All eyes then swung back to Caroline. Many expected screams, tears, a dramatic collapse. Instead, she stood still and regal, like she had been waiting for this very moment. A close friend rushed to her side. "Caroline, are you okay? Do you want to leave? You don't have to stand here for this." Caroline squeezed her friend's hand gently. Her voice was soft but steady. "No. This moment is mine too. I've waited a long time for this truth." "Let him finish." Bradley, thrown off by her composure, went on with arrogance. "I hope you all understand. I can't stay married to someone I don't love. Caroline deserves her chance at happiness." From a table nearby, their son Eli let out a sharp, sarcastic laugh. Bradley's eyes flicked toward him, then away, unable to face his son's contempt. The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. Caroline slowly picked up a champagne glass. She turned to the guests, her face calm, her eyes sparking with quiet strength. "Thank you, Bradley, for finally saying out loud what I already knew. Tonight, I won't toast to betrayal or humiliation, and certainly not to the man who thought he could shame me in front of all of you. I toast to freedom, to a fresh start, and to living my life without lies." The room held its breath. Then Eli raised his glass. One by one, others followed. Admiration replaced pity. Bradley's control slipped from his hands. He stepped down from the stage, no longer the center of the room. Caroline sipped her drink. A single tear escaped, not from sorrow, but from release. She knew life had just shifted forever. This was an ending, yes, but also the start of something new. The next morning, sunlight crept through the blinds of their Asheville home. The house was hushed, broken only by the tick of the kitchen clock. At 9 a.m., Bradley arrived, divorce papers tucked under his arm, a smug smile on his face. He expected tears, bitterness, maybe even begging. Instead, Caroline sat at the table with a coffee in hand, steady and unshaken. "I brought the papers," he announced, waiting for resistance. Caroline reached out, unhurried. She read, nodded, and said softly, "All right. I'll get a pen." Bradley waited, awkward, expecting a scene, but none came. She signed without a tremor, set the pen down, and met his eyes. "Is that all? I thought, maybe you'd want to talk," he muttered. "Talk about what?" she asked with a faint smile. "How you ended 20 years of marriage in one night." "I said everything I needed yesterday, when I toasted to my freedom." Bradley shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't the script he had imagined. "Caroline," he started, but she cut in, her voice gentle and sure. Don't worry, Bradley. I won't beg. I won't compete. You made your choices. Now I'm making mine. She walked him to the door, opened it calmly, and added one final line that lingered like a riddle. Life still owes me one reunion. And despite what you think, it won't be with you. Bradley froze, confused, but she only smiled, her meaning hers alone. He left uncertain. Had he won something or lost everything? In the days that followed, Caroline slipped quietly out of sight. No posts online, no appearances at gatherings. Not out of grief, but to hear herself again. She began with small, deliberate changes. Morning walks through Pack Square Park, pottery classes at a local studio, a fresh haircut. She signed up for the master's program she had once abandoned at Bradley's insistence, studying with the passion she'd buried years ago. Piece by piece, she rebuilt herself. Not the woman Bradley had shaped, but the one she was always meant to be. Meanwhile, Bradley's new life soured quickly. Savannah, once an escape, now seemed restless and exhausted. Their affair had curdled into routine, tension, and silence. Yet what haunted Bradley most wasn't Savannah's coldness. It was Caroline's calm. The way she had signed the papers without flinching. The look in her eyes. That final cryptic farewell. It was as if she knew something he didn't. Caroline, however, no longer thought of Bradley. She was too busy moving forward, quietly building a life rooted in peace rather than revenge. One humid Sunday at Bradley's parents' house, the usual family lunch sat waiting. Lasagna in the oven, sodas chilled, silverware neatly set. But the air was heavy, thick with forced normalcy. Savannah sat at the table, cradling baby Lucas. Her eyes were tired, her smile thin. Lucas slept soundly, blissfully unaware of the storm gathering around him. Bradley had never been prouder, or more arrogant. He paraded the baby around like a prize, snapping photos, filming videos, posting them with captions like, "My greatest gift." Family is everything. To the outside world, he looked like the picture of fulfillment. But behind his posts, doubt gnawed at him. The baby didn't look like him. Earlier tests had raised questions. And Savannah kept whispering with Logan, his cousin, who suddenly found excuses to be around more often. "Bradley, you okay?" his sister asked gently, breaking the uneasy silence as their father studied the baby with sharp eyes. "Yeah, just tired," Bradley muttered. "Got a lot on my mind. Actually, today's an important day." The tension in the room grew heavier. Then Bradley's phone buzzed. A notification flashed across the screen. His stomach dropped. It was the DNA results, the test he'd ordered behind Savannah's back. His pulse thundered as he opened the file. One line burned into his eyes. Paternity probability, 0%. 0. His chest clenched. The room blurred. He looked at the baby, then at Savannah, then stood, clutching the phone like a blade. "Savannah," his voice trembled. "Can you explain this?" Her face drained of color. A tray slipped from Bradley's mother's hands, silverware crashing to the floor. What are you talking about?" Savannah's laugh rang hollow, her voice cracking. "The DNA test." Bradley lifted the phone for all to see. "I'm not the father." The words split the room like lightning. His father shot up from his chair. His sister gasped. The air itself seemed to vanish. Savannah shook her head, panic rising. "You had no right to do that behind my back. And you had no right to lie to me. To humiliate me in front of my own family." Bradley's voice thundered. "So tell me, Savannah, who is the father?" The silence stretched, suffocating. Then from the back, Logan stood. His face was a storm, guilt and defiance wrestling in his eyes. "Bradley, you already know." The truth slammed into him. "Logan. His own cousin. You." Bradley's roar shook the walls. "I trusted you. You were my blood." Logan stammered about weakness, about a mistake that spiraled out of control. But the words only deepened the wound. Bradley's mother fled the room in shame. Whispers swelled. The man who had built a shiny new life, new woman, new child, new beginning, now stood in ruins, exposed before the very people he'd once boasted to. Savannah clutched Lucas, hands trembling. "I thought you were the father, Bradley." "I swear I did." "Swear." His voice cut like glass. The same way you swore you loved me? The same way you swore there was no one else. She lowered her gaze. Logan slipped out like a coward, unable to withstand the light. Bradley stood there alone, drowning in silence and shame. Caroline knew none of it. She was in another city, beginning her own new chapter. Mornings filled with quiet coffee shops, afternoons with books and light conversations, evenings planning a future she no longer feared. In her absence, her presence seemed larger than ever. That Sunday, Bradley's empire crumbled under the weight of his arrogance. The man who once strutted like the architect of perfection now found himself buried in the wreckage of his own lies. The very next day, Caroline wandered into a small bookstore tucked into Asheville's historic district. Outside, rain whispered against the windows. She was searching for an old favorite, a novel that had stayed with her since youth. She browsed the shelves slowly, savoring the calm. Then a voice behind her pulled her back in time. Still into Latin American novels? Or was that just a phase? Her breath caught. She turned. Grant. The same brown eyes. The same crooked smile. A little older now, softened at the edges, but unmistakably him. Grant, she whispered. In the flesh, he grinned, rubbing under his tired eyes. Architecture will do this to a man. But wow, you look like you've lived a whole other lifetime. Her cheeks warmed. Memories of youthful dreams and scribbled notebooks rushed back. Yet now, standing there, she was not the same girl. She was a woman who had endured heartbreak, survived betrayal, and come out whole. They left together, sharing his umbrella, strolling along the rain-slicked sidewalk like no time had passed. Hours melted away as they talked. About lost years, about everything she'd been through. Caroline told him about the divorce, the scandal, even the child, but with calm acceptance, not tears. I remember you in that yellow dress at the college festival, Grant said, sipping his lukewarm coffee later. You used to laugh like love and concrete could build anything. Caroline's eyes softened. Grant wasn't looking at her like a prize or a pity case. He saw her, the broken edges, the resilience, the beauty that came from surviving. For the first time in years, she felt light. They began seeing each other often. No grand gestures, just quiet meals, walks at sunset, messages without pressure. Grant listened, not to fix or lecture, but because her words mattered. One evening, sitting above the city, he said softly, "You've been strong for so long. I wonder if anyone's ever told you it's okay to rest." Her throat tightened. It wasn't about romance. It was about being seen. Truly seen. Grant didn't push. He didn't demand. He simply stayed. And in his steady presence, Caroline found what she hadn't known she was missing. A love that didn't weigh her down, but held her up. From afar, Bradley saw her in photos, smiling again, standing tall, beside a man he didn't recognize. The sight stung deeper than any betrayal. She was thriving. Without him, Caroline wasn't chasing the future. She was simply living. And for the first time in decades, that was enough. One gray Saturday afternoon, Caroline and Eli finished unpacking the last of the boxes in their new home near Pack Square. The quiet felt good, almost sacred. Then the doorbell rang, sharp, insistent. She froze. No one was expected. Peering through the peephole, she saw him. Bradley, jaw clenched, fists tight. His old arrogance replaced by something darker. Anger, fear, desperation. She opened the door just enough to meet his eyes. "What are you doing here, Bradley? Are you really going to do this?" he snapped. "Take Eli away from me like I don't even exist? I thought you were better than this." Caroline's voice stayed calm. "I'm not taking anyone." Eli made his choice. "I'm just starting to live." He tried forcing the door open, but she held her ground. The old Bradley flickered through. The man who once manipulated, intimidated, and sulked like a spoiled child. But Caroline no longer bent. That unsettled him more than he cared to admit. "You really think hiding behind that architect and pretending you can just rebuild your life will work?" he sneered. "You're delusional." Caroline took a slow breath, her eyes unshaken. "The only liar here is you. I'm not hiding. I'm living." Just then, Eli appeared, carrying a box. He set it down, his frown fixed on his father, then stepped forward, planting himself between them. "Dad, what are you doing?" Eli asked, his voice steady. Bradley's voice cracked. "You're just going to throw it all away, turn your back on me, just to follow your mom?" The words came out jagged, a mix of pride and desperation. Eli's eyes hardened, colder than Bradley had ever seen. "You already lost her. Now you're about to lose me too." The silence hit like a slap. Bradley tried to laugh it off, but the mask was slipping. His son no longer saw a strong father, only a small, broken man buried under his own ego. "I'm still your dad, Eli. That doesn't change." "It does," Eli shot back. "When a dad disappears, lies, betrays, he stops being a dad. He's just some guy." Bradley swallowed, but Eli pressed on. "I stood by Mom when you humiliated her. I saw everything. And now that she's finally breathing again, you want to suffocate her?" "Not this time." Bradley staggered back, shoulders slumped, eyes glassy. "You don't understand," he whispered. "I just wanted to start over." "Then start with yourself," Caroline said, her voice firm but quiet. "Start from zero like I did. Alone." She closed the door, not slamming, but with a calm finality. Outside, Bradley stood frozen, realizing he'd lost more than a marriage. On the other side of that door, he wasn't just left behind. He was forgotten. Inside, Eli wrapped his arms around his mom. No cheering, no triumph, just peace. Hard won, but solid. For the first time in years, they knew they were exactly where they belonged. Asheville felt lighter. The sky seemed bluer. Caroline walked the stone sidewalks of Biltmore Village with an ease she hadn't felt in decades. She was no longer the woman who once forced a smile while her world collapsed in a crowded room. Downtown, her small pottery studio became her sanctuary. The same hands that once signed divorce papers now shaped clay on a wheel, the earthy scent and steady spin soothing her soul. Eli was her constant companion, carrying boxes, painting walls, greeting customers. Sometimes he'd drop by with a hot coffee and a corny joke just to make her laugh. "Mom," he said one day while she painted a vase, "your smile's different now." "Different how?" "Like someone who doesn't owe anything to anyone. Like someone who's really alive." Caroline paused, brushed midair, and smiled. He was right. Grant was part of that new life too. Not her whole world, but a steady presence. He didn't lead or demand. He simply stood beside her. His love didn't smother, it supported. He listened without judgment, cared without strings. On Sundays, they strolled Pack Square, watching children play and dogs chase pigeons. Whether laughing or sitting in quiet, they shared an intimacy that felt effortless. "You know," he told her one night as she locked up the studio, "seeing you at peace is the most beautiful thing I've ever witnessed." She laughed softly, meeting his eyes. "And you know," she said, "I thought I'd never feel whole again." He held her close, not in a fairy tale embrace, but in something real. No dramatic promises, no vows carved in stone, just two people choosing each other without losing themselves. Across town, Bradley watched from the sidelines, through social media, family gossip, whispers that burned like salt. "Did you see Caroline? She looks amazing. She opened a gorgeous studio downtown." Each word hit harder than the last. Savannah had disappeared. Logan acted like nothing had happened. Even his son was gone, choosing Caroline's world over his. Bradley tried sending messages, polite notes, desperate pleas. Caroline never replied. Not from anger, but because she had no room left for him. She had learned something powerful. Revenge isn't shouting "I wanted the person who broke you." Revenge is never looking back. It's waking up one Tuesday, sipping coffee, and realizing you're smiling again, without remembering the pain that once crushed you. One afternoon, barefoot on a park bench in the River Arts District, book in hand, Caroline lifted her eyes to the sky. The grass tickled her feet, the breeze carried the scent of rain, and for the first time, she felt pure gratitude. Not for the pain, but for surviving it whole. She understood something now. No one can destroy a woman who chooses to rebuild herself with love. Some truths don't need shouting. Sometimes silence is the loudest answer, and distance the strongest shield. Starting over isn't failure, it's courage. It's the strength of someone tired of living in halves, finally brave enough to live whole. After giving so much away, the heart had learned to listen to itself. And that's when peace was born. You just heard this one from Stories by Sue. If it resonated, don't forget to like and subscribe. What are your thoughts? Share them in the comments. I'd love to hear. Thanks for watching.